So in this video, we're going to talk about probably one of the most impactful things that you guys can realize that's going to increase your score the most. So let's think, if we were looking for a secret recipe for how we could get the highest GMAT score possible, the biggest increase you could ever possibly get, your maximum GMAT score, this is what we're going to talk about now. And the topic is going to surprise you. Now, I want you to think of this. I've been teaching people standardized tests for 15 years or more. And if we had to distill two things that people can do that are going to help them get a crazy great GMAT score, it's number one, grit, and number two, having a growth mindset. Let's talk about those. Look, when I look back at the people who have done well, it's not about how much money they had to spend. It's not about how many AP courses they took. It's not about where they went to high school. It's not about whether they went to the most prestigious middle school, preschool, high school, college. In my experience, none of that mattered, right? Or at least it wasn't the key factor. What the key factor was is how much grit they had. Now, let me be completely forthright here. The idea of grit is not mine. I'm borrowing it from Angela Lee Duckworth, who's a famous psychologist who studied successful people. And she looked at, hey, what makes people successful? Is it where they went to college? She found out not really. Is it how much money their parents left them? She found out, no, not really. Is it how tall they were, their shoe size, their haircut? She found out, no. Her research showed that the thing that was most attributable to people's success was this thing called grit. I didn't even know grit existed until I learned about it from her. But looking back, the students who had the most grit were the ones who earned the highest GMAT scores and had the biggest increases in their score. So what's grit? Grit is very simply the ability to keep going, to have tenacity, to have perseverance, right? When you're studying for the GMAT, boy, it's a long road and it can feel like an eternity when you're studying, right? Getting up every day and saying, you know what? I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to give this my very, very best. I'm going to pick myself up when I fall. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? You will fall during the process of studying for the GMAT. There will be days where you study for hours and you don't feel like you've made much progress. There'll be times when you do 10 questions in the target test prep course and you get 9 of them wrong. There'll be days when you're like, what the am I doing? Excuse my language, okay? And these are the days where you have to say, you know what? It's not easy, and that's okay. It's not easy for anybody. You gotta keep going. You gotta keep getting up like Rocky IV. You get knocked down, you get right back up. You fall off the horse, you get right back on the horse day after day after day. You give it your best effort. This is grit, right? Grit is not getting discouraged. Grit is not getting frustrated. Grit is giving this your very best 7 days a week and not letting the bug get into your mind that this is too hard or this is not worth it. You keep going. And this is Angela Lee Duckworth's concept of grit that I've also experienced innumerable times with students and students taking the course. The people who are willing to keep going, keep working, are the people who have the greatest tendency to do well. Let your competition throw in the towel. Every person who quits before you is a person you have the leg up on. The second part of this, so part one is grit. The second part of this is having a growth mindset. Okay? Now, of course, growth mindset is not my idea either. It belongs to a psychologist named Carol Dweck from Stanford, right? Famous psychologist. She said that a growth mindset is the idea that we're not going to let setbacks throw us off. In fact, we're going to expect to have setbacks, right? Now, people have a warped idea of success and what it takes to be successful, right? So often people are like, you know what? I didn't do well on that practice test. That's awful. Man, I'm not doing good. No, just expect it. Expect to not do well on every practice test. Expect to have days where you don't have the greatest accuracy. Expect to have mornings where you think you should have been getting, 40 questions done and correct and you get 5 done. It's okay. You either win or you learn. Okay? And when you have something not go your way, you can't look at that as a setback. You have to look at it as a natural part of the success story. That's having a growth mindset, right? So for example, if you score poorly on a practice test, what do? Well, you sure as hell don't feel sorry for yourself. You use it as a learning experience. You say, what can I learn from this practice test? What didn't go well? What do I need to work on? That's the growth mindset. Anytime you fail, you really haven't failed as long as you learn from the experience and you grow. These are the 2 biggest tips I can give you. Take grit, take a growth mindset, put these guys together, you got it.